right? So if you're instinctively playing tennis, you're kind of just ready for anything. So we like to use when you talk about subconsciously, just action reaction. Uh, a shortstop in baseball, he doesn't know or she doesn't know if the ball is going to be hit to them, but they're ready. Is it going to be a line drive to the face? A line drive to the chest? Is it going to be left or right? Is it going to be at my feet, over my head? Or am I not going to touch the ball for about 4 hours? We don't know. I just have to be ready. And so that's where I just saw this. I posted it on our social media channels. And if your followers want to follow us, it's at Purler Wrestling on everything, at Purler Wrestling. And I posted this. It was awesome. And it said, something to the extent of when your mind occupies 1/10, it is absent in 9/10. But an absent mind, a mind that is nowhere is everywhere, right? So I think it comes down to focus. So the shortstop is focused. I'm assuming he stares at the batter, right? A wrestler or a jiu-jitsu athlete, what do we focus on? So all I do is, we like to say, take your time, because I like to give our athletes permission to slow down, because the match goes faster. Just like if you give a 3-minute speech at home, it's like a 42-second speech in front of the class and you get an F, because you got to slow down. So it's giving yourself permission to slow down, think about your game plan, and focus on where's your starting point. So for me as a wrestler, my starting point was always to look for my low single leg. And I would spend time looking for it. And if I couldn't, then I would engage my opponent with the left hand. And from there, I would try to get to my elbows and I would clear out and go back outside some. But just a starting point to focus on, I think, is key. So anybody who is not able to wrestle or compete in a jiu-jitsu competition subconsciously, I think it's because they don't have a starting point in mind. And it doesn't have to be a game plan as far as this is the first tactic I'm going to try. It could be this is the first tie-up I'm going to attempt. And it's a starting point. Now, let's say I like to get hands-on quickly and go left-hand collar tie, but my opponent tries a right-hand collar tie and kind of rotates inside. I might instinctively hit a post or an elbow pass to a leg attack, and I just scored. But see, I didn't know I was going to do that. All I know is I like to wrestle from a left-handed collar tie. And over the years of practice, I've got many ways to score from there. Some of those are counters from counters. When you are changing the tie-up, I have options. And it took over instinctively. Now, can I think about that happening from the sidelines before the competition? No, because I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what you're going to do. All I know is when I start the match, I'm going to keep my head 2 inches lower than yours, and I'm going to get to my collar tie. Now, what if I have an opponent who circles and tries to wrestle from space? Now I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to get to my left-handed collar tie, but I've got to make sure when I'm closing the gap, I'm circling to my opponent's back leg. So for your jiu-jitsu athletes who are trying to learn how to do takedowns, your opponent has a lead leg and a back leg. If your left leg is forward, Steve, and I circle to my right, your left, you can load up and penetrate off of that. But if I circle to your back leg, which is your right, and my left, there's no way for you to score on me, and I can close the gap in an arcing fashion, kind of like a banana shape, you could say, and I can get hands on you. So I like a left-handed collar tie. My opponent likes to stay outside and score, but I'm going to make sure my head's lower than his. I'm going to move in, and when I get close enough, I'm going to circle to the back leg and get my collar tie. So, see, my game plan is the same, but getting to my left-handed collar tie changed based upon what I know about my opponent. And what if I don't know this opponent? Okay, maybe I moved in and got my reached for my collar time, my opponent circled out and then faked. Then I moved in and he circled again. And I was like, okay, this is a guy that wants to score from the outside. So now I go back to the other plan I just discussed, but I didn't know that beforehand. It just happened. All right. So I think focus and just giving yourself a starting point. How do you like to start off the match? Okay, let's just do that. And you do the same thing over and over and over with maybe a little variation depending upon the opponent, but not much. And now there's some sameness to my approach, and I'm not going to go out there like a deer in the headlights, and I'm more likely to be able to wrestle subconsciously.